Hey friends, welcome to week one of the Christmas in July YouTube hop that I'm hosting here on my channel. I will have all of the information for this YouTube hop down in the description below and links to all of the wonderful ladies who have joined me in this hop. So make sure you head over and check out all of their videos. Videos will be posted each Sunday through July, starting today, July 6th. So make sure you check back each Sunday for a different theme. This week's theme is Christmas cheer. So Christmas cards, ATCs, Memdexes, anything that you could send to family or crafty friends to bring them some Christmas cheer. So I decided to pull out this 6x6 Echo Park paper pad gnome for Christmas. I was gifted this in a swap, I think last year. And I was able to use all of this up, but this one scrap here and a couple of cut aparts. So I did really well. Very proud of myself for using all of this up. So let me show you what I've created. And I created four cards, using the scraps that I had left over from my other project. So I just wanted to utilize as many of the scraps as I could and the cut aparts. And then I did mat the inside and leave them blank. So they're all similar on the front with 3 different strips of paper and then a cut apart. And this one I used 2 different papers to make a mat in the background. And there is the inside of that one. And this one I used a strip here, 3 of those sheets of paper. And I kept these really simple and I wanted to keep them flat for mailing them out. And here is this one again with another strip. Santa Claus is coming to town. So those are the 4 that I used the scraps with. And then we're going to make 3 cards together. This is the first card. And these 3 are fun fold cards. So this pops up like this. And this opens like this. And I did not have enough paper left to mat this, but I'm okay not matting this one. And then we have an area here to write your message. So super cute card. And then we have this one. And this opens here. And again, this side isn't matted, which ultimately I think I would have liked it to be matted. I just didn't have enough paper to do that. And then you have room to write your message here, and it folds up like that. And then the last one is a really fun card. So I used some ribbon, a cut apart, this really fun gnome ornament paper, and then this one opens like this. And then I have a little card here. And this card here was inspired by Stamp Happy NZ. And I created one of these cards for a mystery swap that I'm in, and I wanted to recreate it for Christmas. My measurements on this card are different than hers, but I will link her video down below for you. So you have a little area to write your message here, and you've got your little like W here. So we are going to make these cards together. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and start with this guy here. And I will set this off to the side. And what you are going to need for this card, of course, is your A2 size card base. You're going to need 1 sheet of paper that measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. 1 sheet of paper that measures 2 5/8 by 5 3/8. Your little mini card here measures 3 by 6. And then I cut about 1 3/8 off of this side of the card. So I already have my base here. So I have my A2 card base. I have my 4 1/8 by 5 3/8 piece that's going to go in the inside. I've got my 2 5/8 by 5 3/8 piece for the side. Then I have two of those, one for the outside, one for the inside. So I'm sorry, you need 2 of these if you want to mat the inside. So 2 of the 2 5/8 by 5 3/8. I've got my 3 by 6 for my mini card, and I've got a cut apart. So let's go ahead and set these pieces aside, and let me show you how I cut this card. So I just roughly cut the card, like I didn't do any measurements on my first one, but for this one we're going to cut about 1 3/8 off. So 1 3/8 is a line right before 1 1/2. And of course you could cut as much or as little off as you want. And so we're left with this. Now let's go ahead and add down our mats. And we have the base of our card completed. Now let's create our 3 by 6 card. So all you need to do is fold this in half. And then your card is going to sit like this. So all I did was just trimmed my cut apart about 1/8 of an inch down on each side of my cut apart to fit in my little square. And then let's see, yeah, that looks good. And we could cut a little on the top or the bottom too, but I'm going to go ahead and just leave that. So let's go ahead and mat this. And I'm just going to center this the best that I can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Then I'm going to add my glue on the back of my card here. And you could place this wherever you want. I just decided to place it in the center. The center-ish. It doesn't have to be perfectly centered. And then our first card is completed. And then you can just go in and add some gems around just to add a little extra sparkle. And very simply, we have a super cute card. So all the measurements for the cards will be down below for you guys. So let's quickly move on to the next card. So this card we are going to be cutting at an angle. And then we have our little flip up and our place to write in here. Card, you are going to need your mini card base 3 by 8 1/4. 2 pieces of 4 1/8 by 5 3/8, your A2 card base, and then you are going to need a mat for your cut apart that measures 2 3/4 by 4, and I'm using leftover scrap, so I just cut a white cardstock base of 2 3/4 by 4, and then we will add these down as our mat for our cut apart. So let's set these pieces aside. And then what I did was I just took my card base and over to my paper trimmer, and then I lined the top corner up and rotated to the bottom corner, so they were both lined up on the cut line. Of course, it does not have to be perfect, but I just line them up and go ahead and trim, and then you are left with this. And then I use this to cut my base piece down, but if you did not want to do that, you could take your piece here and do the same thing. Go ahead and line those up like so. And I just would double check and go ahead and trim. And then you might have to do a little trimming. As you can see, mine's a little bit tall here, so I'm just going to take a little sliver off. Just a little bit off. And then we have our piece, and then we're going to have this piece for the inside here. And just take a look at it. We need to do a little trimming on that as well. Just take a little sliver off. And this card is as simple as that. So let's lay our matte base pieces down. All right, so we have our card matted and ready for the little mini card. So all you need to do is fold this piece of 3 by 8 1/4 paper in half. And then we need to build up our little mat here. So let's go ahead and add that down. And then if you need to do any trimming, if you have any overhang, then just do a little trimming, because these were scrap pieces that I had left over. And then we have our base, and then we can trim this little cut apart, trim that green away. And I'm gonna actually trim my cut apart because this piece is a little bit smaller. So I did already add my glue, so I'm just gonna do about 1/8 of an inch on each side of the cut apart. And just trim this to make it a little smaller to fit on our matte piece. And also you'd want to do that before you added the glue, but I forgot to do that step. All right, so now we can mat this on here. And mat this on our little mini card base. And then what I like to do is I like to add this in first and kind of gauge where I want this to be. So about maybe right there. Before I add my glue, that way I get kind of an idea. And then I'll go back in as well and Double check, and that looks good. And then lay this down, and card number 2 is complete. Let's add a couple of gems down. And I'm just using red and green gems, and just doing a few because I want these cards to be relatively flat. We have our little flip up, and you have a place to write a message or stamp there. So card number 2 is done. Those are super cute. Let's move on to the final card. So this is our W fold card. For this card, you're going to need your A2 card base. You're going to need 3 sheets of paper that measure 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. Then you're going to need your W piece, which measures 1 1/2 by 8 1/2. For the mini card inside, you're going to need a piece that measures 2 by 4 1/4. I'm going to use some cut-aparts. These are the little mini 2x2 cut-aparts. So I have 4 of those. And then for this outside square, you're going to need your mat to be 3 1/8 by 3 1/8. And again, I'm going to use some of my scrap paper for this one. And then here is my cut-apart. So let's start by adding our mats down. So we have the base of our card matted, and then let's work on our W part. So all you're going to do, super simple, is fold your piece in half. And again, this piece measures 8 1/2 by 1 1/2. So fold it in half, go ahead and burnish, and then I like to flip it over. And then you're going to fold the one side back to the score line, fold and burnish, and fold the other side back, and fold and burnish. So you want to give these nice crisp lines, and then you have your W. So then what you're going to do is go in your card, and you're going to line one of your rectangles and put glue on it and glue that down. And then you're going to bring the other one and glue your last rectangle down. So let's go ahead and add our glue. So I like to put mine roughly in the middle. So I'm going to add that first rectangle down. I'm going to flip my card over, and then I'm going to stretch this out and add this piece down. And then I need to do a little trimming. I think I cut my piece just a hair too long. Trim any of the overhang. And then we have our W. And so then all we need to do now is decorate. So for the little mini card inside, you're just going to take your piece of paper that measures 2 by 4 1/4 and fold it in half like you would a card. Of course, burnish that really nicely. And then I took my 1-inch circle punch to make a little notch in my card. I'm just making a little notch so that you can see that that folds up. And then you're going to grab your cut aparts and decide what you want to put down where. And do any trimming or anything you need to do. Like, I didn't trim them perfectly, so I'm going to cut off the borders on these. You could cut these down and mat them. You could do a mat and stamp. You could do a mat and use stickers, whatever your heart desires. I just chose to use as much as this paper as I could and decided to use these little 2x2 cut aparts. So As you can see here, I did not mat these. I just laid them directly down. So I'm going to just do the same thing. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to add your glue directly to your paper here. And then add your cut apart. And then add your adhesive. And I just go ahead and do that on all. And then just start adding your decorative elements, making sure you don't go over the score line. And then let's add this to our little mini card. It says Happy Holidays from our gnome to yours. And I'm going to bring this up to the top so that we can see that notch. And then if you wanted to take a little strip of washi or paper or ribbon or like outline the inside of your card with a marker, you could do that as well. But then we're just going to add our little card right here on the end. And the inside of our card is all done. How cute is that? So let's go ahead and decorate the outside of our card. So I'm going to have these two pieces for the outside of my card here. These were some scraps. I'm going to do a little paper tearing on this one. And you could go ahead and ink your torn paper. I was just trying to keep these as simple as I could. Add these down. And I see I need to trim this just a little bit because my green piece was not quite as long. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim that with my paper trimmer. And then we're going to add our cut apart down on this mat. And then you could add this directly there. You could add another piece of paper, but I decided to use some ribbon. So I'm just using this really fun, sparkly ribbon and adding a piece of that across. And then I just use my tape runner for this and add a line across the middle of my card and lay this down. And then I'll just trim that overhanging piece. And then here you could pop this up if you wanted to give your card dimension. But like I said, I'm just keeping these really flat so that you can mail them in the mail. And then we're going to add our cut apart to the center. Add down some gems. Let's grab a green one. And we are done. So we made 3 super cute and interactive cards to send to our pen pals, family member, or crafty friends. Here is the other interactive one here. So super cute. I hope you will give these cards a try. They were really fun to create. For reference, I'm going to call this one the W card, the triangle card, and the fun fold card. That way you can look in the descriptions for the measurements if you need them. Alright guys, I hope you will head over and check out the other ladies that are joining my YouTube pop. Check out what they've created today for our theme of Christmas cheer. Alright guys, have a wonderful day. Bye.